half of us miss them, they will become bonus questions.
Well, what if you got it right?
If you got it right, you get bonus points.
You get bonus points.
I have a question about 10.
Number 10. So what thoughts does Offred have after kissing the commander? Let's go ahead and just look at this page.
Can I take a guess real quick before?
Very last page. 139 and 140. Annotation opportunity. On 139. Let's start at thank you, he says, for the game.
I got that wrong.
Volunteer, thank you, he says, for the game. It's all the way down. It's the second
Oh, yeah.
to last paragraph. There are quotation marks around this dialogue. So take it away.
Then he says, I want you to kiss me. I think about how I could take the back of the toilet apart. The toilet in my own bathroom.
I know.
On a bath night, quickly and quietly, so Cora outside on the toilet would not hear me. I could get the sharp lever out and hide it in my sleeve and smuggle it into Commander's study the next time, because after a request like that, there's always a next time, whether you say yes or no. I think about how I could approach the commander to kiss her here alone and take off her jacket as if to allow or invite something further, some approach to true love, and put my arms around him and slip the lever out from the sleeve and drive the sharp end into him suddenly between his ribs. I think about the blood coming out of him, hot as soup, sexual over my hands.
So she's thinking about killing him. She let her. Yeah, interesting. So like, we're gonna keep reading a little bit more, but is this an example of her rebelling, surviving? What is, I don't know, I think it connects maybe to number 2, could potentially also be when we get read on connection to number 1. In fact, I don't think about anything of the kind. I put it only in afterwards. So this is actually happening, this thought is happening after the whole thing with the commander goes down. Who's done something and thought about like how they wanted to do it afterwards,
Oh, very
way
much.
later when they're
Arguing,
Everything.
arguing with someone, and then you leave, and it's like, I should have said that, well, then you come back. That's today.
You can always come back the next day, but then
Maybe I should have thought about it at the time, but I didn't. As I said, this is a reconstruction. All right, I say. I go to him and place my lips closed against his. I smell the shaving lotion, the usual kind, the hint of mothballs, familiar enough to me. But he's like someone I've only just met. He draws away, looks down at me. There's the smile again, the sheepish one. Such candor. Not like that, he says, as if you mean it, as if you meant it. He was so sad. That is a reconstruction too. And I'm like, is he really sad? I'm not even sure. So she doesn't have the thought about killing him while she's kissing him. She has it afterwards. She's retelling herself sitting in her room, because at this point I'm convinced she's just talking to herself. She's retelling herself later what's going on, and she's holding on to the story of everything she does, because how else will she remember what she's supposed to feel and believe? How else is she supposed to remember that she didn't decide to become a handmaid, that the decision was made for her? And we get a real glimpse into the anger that she's harboring when she has this thought about what she wants to do to the commander. Okay, now we're going to get into the seminar with these questions, and we'll start with Samantha.
Did the question on the quiz say, what was she thinking while kissing the commander or after kissing the commander?
I think I just said thinking while.
No, it's what you thought after.
After. I said after. But I will give you a half point if you said exactly what it says in the book about the reconstruction, because that's a really good memory. So I was trying to write that, so I was offended. All right, let's get into these questions. You can talk about anything you put in your Sammy's Matter or annotated in chapters 19 through 23. Take it away.
All right, so I'll go first. It says, your traditional generation, said on page 117. Your transitional generation, said Aunt Lydia, it's the hardest for you. We know the sacrifices you are being expected to make. It is hard when men revile you. For the ones who come after you, it will be easier. I felt confused about that at first. It said you're like a transitional generation. I didn't know what that meant at first, but like as I kept reading, I felt like it was talking about how women go through like these times where they're not allowed to do certain things, but they try to anyway. And they get penalized for it, but they feel accomplished about themselves because they actually like attempted to do something that men can do. So basically, like doing these things, it can make it easier for women in the future because maybe by the time they come around, it'll be okay for women to do them.
So you think Aunt Lydia is actually in support of more freedom for women?
Yeah.
Okay. I agree with what Anthony said. Because I feel like if we do that for every issue, not just like women's rights, if we do that for like slavery, it's just gonna end like this. Like we have to take chances and risks. So like then later on, the people who come after these actions be free. So like basically for women's rights, if they do that, and for the women who won't come after them,
So that justifies all this dehumanization of people?
no. I think it's the right thing.
I mean, connecting to like slavery, I think, when I think of a transitional generation, I think of like right when slavery was abolished, and you have some people who are trying to figure out how to be free, and so they're afraid and they're staying kind of where the masters on these plantations are using that to their advantage, and they're keeping them there, and they're saying like, oh, we'll pay you, we'll build you these nice houses, and it was like they're giving them crap money, and the houses are like in terrible condition, the same like shacks they've been living in. But if you don't know what to do because you've been a slave up until this day that you're not anymore, it's safe, if you feel safer just staying there than like wandering around and potentially starving to death. So like this transitional generation where those hundreds of thousands of people who were freed and had nowhere to go, and it took years before, you know, all those people who had been brought over and forced into a role to find new roles for themselves because you didn't have a choice before then. So like maybe this generation remembers the past, but the new generation won't remember the past, so they won't be as rebellious.
They won't try to do anything for something that's already been resolved for.
I got this call.
Okay, go ahead.
In chapter 23, page 135, but she said maybe she said maybe none of this is about control. Maybe it is going to be about who can own who can do what, who, and get away with it. Even as far as that, maybe it's about who can sit down and has kneel or stand or lie down, legs spread open. So I feel like she's talking about page 105. I feel like she's trying to refer that to like how. That's why on the quiz when she said like what she thought about after, I said that she can start something with the commandment. So I feel like she can have some type of control if she has some type of relationship with the commander or something. So I said like that's probably like get away with her. I don't know. So I think the commander would fall in love with her or something. But that's why.
That's how she's
That's why like that's why
rebel and
yeah,
survive.
That could work.
like that's like the control. Because it's like a very for society. So if she gets the control of the commander, then she'll be like in control of most of the people.
Oh, so when the commander asked her to play the game, like she asked like in exchange, so she's trying, I guess she wants something from him, as he asks her a favor, so she would ask him a favor too.
So
That's what I did.
So it'll be a bad idea if she kills him. So like I think she can use him instead of like just killing him. Just because like the bad thing he did up. She can use him to get away with something.
Wait. Oh, sorry. I had it next to you. So, let's say her name is Alfred now. So let's say she has a baby and she moves into her next commander. Does that mean her name changes again?
Yes.
Also, no, they move into a different commander
After they give a baby to the king, to the commander of that place, then they get sent to a different commander.
Until they can.
Until they can know.
So basically, they have kids until they die.
They have kids until they can't anymore, and then if they've had any kids, it gives them, this answers a question that's been asked, it gives them amnesty to becoming an unwoman or being sent to the colonies.
It's like a
They
baby.
go somewhere else, they might become an aunt, they might get promoted to the level of aunt, or they may just be given a comfortable place to sit around
I
and
think
do
they get
nothing.
promoted, because I know the commander get promoted if they're successful, so.
Janine seems like she's on the fast track to aunt, becoming an aunt because of like all the ways, and she's like, so, poor girl, like is so abused by the power structures in
Her
this
poor puppy
system, but, you know, that's how she's surviving, like, she doesn't, her survival mechanism is like just
Bless
giving
you.
in and following the
Yeah, that's
orders.
what I was saying.
For Janine,
No, for the last question, I was like, oh, how can we survive? What have to do? Like, sometimes they do, they think they just society, just go along with society. That's how they survive.
in the case of Janine, that's what she's doing. Sorry.
She did something.
For question number 2, I said that like she like rebels and like survives in like her own mind, like her having these flashbacks or like keeping the Republic of Gilead like expectations like somewhat not all, but like somewhat like a place where she could escape in her mind, and she like think like in the nighttime, like that's like her time, like she got flashbacks. I remember the time like where she had freedom and control. So that's like her surviving. So it's like she doesn't get completely influenced by the Republic of Gilead.
Thoughts are a form of rebellion into that
Did she ever think about the consequences that may happen if she got caught with the commander at that time?
She did when she was playing Scrabble.
So- Why she get that part right?
She was playing Scrabble. She was like,
That's what I put.
I mean, who's gonna punish her? Isn't like commander like?
Because it's a forbidden game. Women
No,
are not
didn't
supposed to
it
be
say
able to.
she'd be at the mercy?
Knocked on the door of this forbidden, no one is allowed to go in the room, even.
No, I'm saying like, didn't she say she'd be at the mercy of Serena Joy?
136. My presence here is illegal. It is forbidden for us to be alone with the commander. We are for breeding purposes. We are not concubines, geisha girls, courtesans. On the contrary, everything possible has been done to remove us from that category. There's supposed to be nothing entertaining about us, etc., etc. We are two-legged wombs, that's all. Sacred vessels, ambulatory chalices.
If I am
If
caught.
I'm caught, there you go. Go ahead, Shyla.
If I'm caught, to Serena's tender mercies, I'll be delivered.
Isn't supposed to meddle in such household discipline. It's a woman's business. After that, reclassification. I could become an unwoman. So we're learning like this very umbrella term. Someone who's broken the rules in some way, basically, is in the unwoman category. Feminists. Handmaids that have broken the rules in the household. Lesbians. People who
Unbabies.
manage gender treasury, as they call it. So like, category of unwoman, anyone who goes against the ideals of the Republic of Gilead.
Just the uns. Are there any unmen?
There are no unmen that we have learned about. I doubt there are because it's a patriarchal society.
Oh man.
Alright, someone else, something we were saying means better in relation to the questions.
I mean, if you really want to talk about it,
Kevin, what do you?
I said page 129. When we find out that the aunts are allowed to read and write, I said that's an important part to find out because in a society where like women are not allowed or that's something that's sacred and like forbidden, I said that's interesting to find out that only the aunts are.
So how might that answer one of these questions? I think you can do it. How might the aunts be allowed to read and write uphold the patriarchy?
I think that answers number 1. Because the reason that it upholds the patriarchy is because that's not something that is supposed to be happening now in the new society or the new patriarchal society. That women are allowed to read and write because they're trying to get rid of that. And yeah.
So what does that say about me?
It would, the thing about who they're giving that power to. Who men are giving that power to. I mean,
So you know how also that's be like a teaches people how to become a handmaid and I want to use the word anti-feminist.
Yep. They're like, the aunts are being kind of the anti-feminist in the situation because
They're
the
supporting the man
patriarchy.
and they're supporting the patriarchy. So they're supporting it and they're the ones giving the power to be right. That's basically like the people who are on the side of the men having the power are the ones giving the power.
They're using women to manipulate other women.
It's
The
like,
patriarchy is using women to
it's
manipulate
like if
other
they
women.
have like no feeling, they can't imagine themselves being like the choose of aunts, like how they what they do, like they brainwash them.
Brainwash, yeah.
So like I feel like probably like some of them don't start thinking like, oh, what if I was like the handmaid? Because you know, like, it's based on church, like.
Well, it's based on some weird interpretation of religion, but, did you say it's based on church?
No, where it's like they choose to be a handmaid or aunt.
You don't choose, no, it's not based on choice. You're assigned a role and there's no choice in that.
So yeah, I've said like sometimes they like I don't know if they in the book I don't know if they like put themselves in the handmaid shoes and see like what happened, like what they actually go through. I don't know, but I said
Like, take on that perspective.
I feel like the aunts know like the truth, but they are hiding it from the enemies because the men have more higher power than the truth. So like the real society, like I don't know how to say it.
It's the ugliness of it all.
Yeah.
See how it's supposed to be a utopian society.
Right, because,
Or
But
maybe they do it on purpose so that they don't lose their power. Because if you think
Yeah.
about it, obviously women don't have no power. So for them to even have a little bit of power and to be able to be there, right? They're like, okay, I don't want to lose it. I'm just going to go on.
and we can pick up from here tomorrow and have a little bit more of this discussion, because we can talk about how knowing to read and write helps them censor material that is still out there, you know, like, if they can read and write, they know how to show certain